Hello and welcome to Game Dev Hideout. My name is Daniel and I'm really excited to introduce you to our newest show from 6.5 Media. You may be familiar with myself and my co-host Chris from the Turn by Turn podcast. In the second season of Turn by Turn, we started interviewing indie game devs about their turn-based RPGs that they were making. It turned out to be lots of fun and we met lots of cool people, so we decided that we wanted to continue. However, halfway through the season, it started to feel like two different shows. So we decided to make them two different shows. Now, rather than just talking with turn-based devs, we will be talking to devs of all sorts. However, if you come for the zany turn-based action, you won't be disappointed. Some of our interviews will be just me or just Chris. And then when the stars align, we'll both get to be on an episode together. We really hope you enjoy the new show and we're really excited to get started. This week, I will be talking with Dave, the indie creator of Tilefinder. Tilefinder is a roguelike tactics RPG. I was actually able to play the demo for this one and I really enjoyed it. You'll definitely want to take a look at this one if you're a fan of tactics games. Then, after the break, I'll be speaking with Eric, the creator of Luminera, The Radiant Journey. Luminera is a JRPG that takes elements from Avatar: The Last Airbender and D&D. What stuck out about his game is that he has 24 playable characters that all have meaningful interactions. If you're a gamer that really enjoys unique, exciting characters, this game will be right up your alley. We hope you enjoy these interviews, and we have a lot of exciting stuff planned for this season. All right, today we are joined with Dave, the creator of Tilefinder. How are you doing today?
Hello, Daniel. I'm doing great. There's a lot of work to do. I also work on weekends, or Saturday and Sunday. I'm hard at work. I also have a lot of other stuff planned for today.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. Well, not necessarily for the game, but just other stuff that I have to do.
Gotcha. So is this the first game you've made?
This is my first commercial game, like the first one that I want to sell. I've made lots of small games prototypes before. I've participated in game jams, but this is my first commercial project.
Very cool. So what is Tilefinder?
Tilefinders is a roguelike RPG on a grid. So basically, it's very similar to games like Wildermyth or XCOM. Into the Breach. Actually, Into the Breach was one of the main inspirations for the game. So essentially, the game takes place on a tile map. It's 5 by 7 tiles. You can move, attack, defeat enemies, and every run has 3 different zones. So it's a roguelike. If you die, you die. You have to start from the beginning of the run. But every time you play, every boss you beat unlocks extra encounters, extra items. And there's, even though there are only 3 zones, 3 mandatory zones, there are 11 bosses in total, each with a unique design and at least like 2 to 3 faces. It's a game about a lot of moving, paying attention to the board, reacting to what your enemies are going to do, and just being very, very careful with how you approach combat.
Yeah, so having played the demo, what kind of impressed me about it is that you add in some like things to hide behind, and it feels a lot like chess in some ways.
It kind of does, yeah. Well, in the same manner that Into the Breach feels like chess. It's chessy, yeah.
Like it's a lot of fun to have to figure out like should I like stay behind this rock while that archer's standing there? Like
hmm
like what is my next move? Like can I handle a couple of hits if I do go to this one spot?
Yeah, exactly.
So like you did a really good job adding in like tactical thought to it because I know that there were a
Thank you,
couple
thank you.
turns where I just sort of sat there being like, I don't know, should I go left or right?
hmm Yeah, and the good part is I'm making it's even more tactical. So I make daily updates to it. Well, almost daily, like every 1 to 3 days also. I update it, and I always take in feedback. I have a feedback button directly into the game menu, and I've already received quite a lot of feedback. So I'm still adapting to that feedback, trying to make everything even more understandable, like enemy patterns. I want to make them more understandable, easier to understand, and improve the overall player experience and the sense of tactic in the game. It's also one thing, and I keep improving on.
Hmm. So are you completely designing this on your own, or do you have some people that you're
Yeah.
working with?
This is a solo project. All of it's mostly. It's like 95%. I've made everything, like even the artwork, the programming, the marketing, all goes to me. There have been a few things that I did not make. For example, the Steam cover art with the hero raising a sword over the hill. I did not
Mhm.
make that. I had that commission from an artist. Also, the UI, I did not make my UI. I also had an artist do it. And what else? There was something else I'm missing that I did not. Oh yeah, the icons. I just took them from like assets found on the internet. And music. I didn't. I didn't make the music. So actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, maybe it's not like 90%. Let's say like it's 80% made by me. Yeah.
Either way, it's an impressive feat to be involved, like have your foot in so many parts of the project by yourself.
Thanks. It's impressive, but in retrospective, maybe I would have done it differently. Like for sure, I would have done it differently. Like I had a talk. There's something that I really learned from this game is what that investment translates to, like return on what do you call it? Like when you invest money into something, you get back money. So for example, if I did not have my artwork, the Steam artwork, I'm pretty sure the game would not be as as cool as it is now. I would not have as many wish lists or as many beta players. So I should honestly have done the same with other aspects of the game, like hired someone to do something. For example, marketing is a lot harder than I thought it would be. It takes a lot of time to reach everyone to get the game out there. So um, yeah, it's definitely something I learned. uh, Money in equals money out.
Yeah, it really does feel like that sometimes because you just never know who's gonna see it. And then
Yeah,
if someone sees it with 10 followers, that's one thing, but if someone sees it with 2 million, that's a way different thing.
yeah, exactly.
So it's a matter of who you can actually reach in a lot of
Hmm.
cases.
Hmm.
So is there like a central story for Tile Finder?
The idea is so the game is called Tilefinder, right? Which means something related to finding a tile. The main story is that the king was in the castle and he found a loose floor in the castle, a loose tile in the castle floor. And what happened is he took it out, and from under the tile came monsters, eldritch corruption, demon stuff. And the tile was broken into four pieces. So now the goal of the player is to find all of those tile pieces and assemble the tile and put the tile back into the castle floor. And there's all sorts of there's all sorts of stuff in the game that advance your lore. So there's some optional quest lines. There's two optional quest lines for now, which lead you to two different new zones, completely optional with two optional bosses that also progress your story. So, for example, you might find out who the mother of the main character, the main villain of the game is, or what happened to the blacksmith's wife, who you don't see in the game, but she's there somewhere. Uh, and soon I'll be adding lore for the pumpkin guy, the first boss. He's also got lore. I just haven't gotten to put it in the game yet. So yeah, it's a storyful game. It's not that serious of a game story. Um, it gives I want to give a sort of the Borderlands vibe. If you've played the Borderlands 2 or 3 games, they have like a serious story, but the characters are comical. So that's what I'm aiming for. Both seriousness, as in the world's about to end, kind of seriousness, but with comical dialogue and comical situations and names, descriptions, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it has that like high fantasy vibe to it where like you have like
Hmm.
monsters like coming out from the bottom of the castle
Yeah.
and our hero has to kind of fight them and get like put them back into their like seal them away again.
Yes.
So I think that's really cool.
Hmm.
And so who's like your main like player character?
The main player character is well, it isn't just one main player character. There's three characters. There's the knight, the mage, and the ranger. Um, the main character we could say is the knight because he's the first character you play as. You have
Mhm.
to unlock the other two characters. Theoretically, it could be any of the characters could say the same thing. Like they all say basically the same thing when talking to the king or when talking to an encounter. But the main character, the knight, is the one who was framed for murdering some gods. As in the intro, if you've seen the intro to the game, that the idea is there's this girl who was caught by two gods, and the gods were like burn the witch, but the witch was like nah, and she killed them and she teleported away. So you as a player come there and are like, hey, what's going on? And two other guards come and see you sitting next to two corpses, and they're like, hey, you killed those guys. And I'm like, no, I did not kill those guys. So that's why the main character, the knight, is fighting guards and peasants and everyone's after you, but the other
Mhm.
characters are still helping. Like it's assumed that they're all friends, they know each other.
Gotcha. So the part of the demo that I played was with the knight, and I didn't get to the other two as far as I've gotten so far. But
Mhm.
do you have do they become like additional characters? You'll have like more characters on your tiles, or is it like you're one character at a time?
No, you also get one. You have two heroes every run. So you start every run with one hero, and after a few encounters, you unlock your second hero. um, and you can also get some other extra units of your own. So like the ranger has a spell which at like every it's a passive ability that just gives you a fox every combat. So you'll have that fox. You might also get other companions. There's a guard, but I can't remember how you actually get the guard as a companion. There's at some point there's an eldritch effigy event, and if you do the right thing in the Eldritch Effigy event, you're gonna get a sort of like an effigy unit on your side that you can control every battle. So you can, if you try, you can kind of fill your board with extra minions and units.
So what made you want to do like a commercial game?
the the I wanted to be legit. Like I wanted to feel like a legitimate game developer, and it's something I wanted to prove to myself that I can do, because I've been making prototypes and small games, and so for years I've been participating into game jams, and I never actually made a game that could sell. So I really wanted to do it, and I've been working on this on and off for like at least 4 years. But last year in like September, I quit my day job and I said, okay, I'm going to do this full time. I do not expect to make my living off of it, but I have the time. I'm pretty young. I don't consume a lot of money, and I think it was worth it. Yeah. Did I answer your question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So with that being said, so what sort of games inspired you to want to make this one?
So one of the games that inspired me a lot was Heroes of Might and Magic, mostly 3 and 5, because those are the games that I've played. I have like the most. I've played all of them, like up until like Hero 7, I believe. I think it is now 6. I don't remember which one, but I like the most 3 and 5. I like the most. And I remember when I was young, I used to play Heroes 3 a lot, and I was so mesmerized by that game. And I was constantly looking for other similar games, but I could not find anything that suits my needs perfectly.
Mm.
I played Pokemon, and that's also an inspiration. So I knew I kind of wanted to make something like that. I've always liked turn-based RPGs. I don't know why. It's just the way I am wired. Play Darkest Dungeon, Into the Breach, and just the more I played these turn-based games, the more I really wanted to make my own with my own spin, because I could never find one that was like exactly how I wanted. Into the Breach was not RPG enough, and Heroes of Might and Magic was also not RPG enough. You have huge armies, and Darkest Dungeon was not on a grid. And eventually, I ended up making exactly the game that I want. But it's a lot harder than it seems. Like you have an idea and you know exactly what you want, but then you make it and you realize it's actually a lot harder to do, and maybe it doesn't work exactly like you've been imagining. That's kind of what I've been doing. I've been making my dream game, and it's it's difficult.
No, it seems like it's going really well. I really enjoyed the demo, like I was saying. What are you building it in?
I'm using a game engine that no one knows. It's called Stencil. It's
Hmm.
supposedly a game engine that doesn't use like you can code. It's a like visual. What do you call it? Like visual scripting. Like you don't actually type code. You just drag and drop blocks. But I actually do program in it because if you want, you can use the programming language Hex, which also nobody uses because it's super underrated. But it's a great language. It's my favorite language. So yeah, I'm using Stencil with the Hex programming language, and honestly, it's probably the largest game that's ever been made in the Stencil engine.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, I have like what? How many hundred thousands? Over 100,000 lines of code, I believe.
Wow. That's
Oh yeah,
unbelievable.
definitely. Yeah, definitely at least 100,000.
So, do you like, is your favorite part of it the coding side, or do you like the story side?
I like all of it, honestly. I don't think there's one that I like more than the others. I do like programming, especially at the start. I really loved programming the game because by profession, I'm a programmer. I graduated computer science university. But now that's the more I'm approaching the launch and the more things that I do, it's becoming quite boring because I'm not doing new stuff. It's mostly bug fixing glitches, polishing, that sort of stuff, and using the systems that I already make to try to make new systems. It gets awkward and like boring, the programming part. So right now I'm enjoying what am I enjoying? Let me think. I don't know. I'm still enjoying all of them the same. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed programming the most, I'd say, in the beginning and in total.
Hmm. I'm sure it's probably pretty hard to kind of suss out where bugs are because you never know how someone's going to play it. So you never know
Oh yeah.
if they're going to like find some random thing. And
Yep. And
so,
there's also things that I just never notice because like I've played my game tens of times, dozens of times, and I just get used to certain things. Like I said, let's say there's a certain glitch in the game that I've just played it so many times that I'm just used to it that I don't see it anymore, and I just need someone to say, "Hey, there's that thing," and I'm like, "Oh yes, yes, that's been there for like 6 months and I didn't see it." Yeah, that happens a lot actually, a lot more frequently than I like to admit.
so you said you update it every other day? Wow, that
Or at
must
least I
be
try. I try to.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it is. Uh, I've never worked so hard on anything, honestly, because yeah, like I'm putting in a lot of work.
So what have been some of the harder parts of it? Has it been finding like people to work with or like fixing maybe like tricky bugs that have popped up or the art or what's difficult?
Honestly, for me, the hardest part was time management. Is I'm a pretty disorganized person. I used to be a really disorganized person. So when I quit my job, I had a really hard time maintaining a schedule, and like waking up at an hour, going to sleep at another, working, not mixing work with fun. But I mean, working is fun for me, so because I really like development, but fun as in like I don't know, going out with friends, playing video games. So honestly, that was probably the hardest thing for me. But I've gotten a lot better at organizing myself. I learned to take notes really, really well. I got really, really good at taking notes and organizing everything, making plans, making a step by step to-do lists, checklists, incorporated those into my life. And now that's who I am. I could now call myself a really organized person. I went from one extreme to the other. Another hard thing was early on the programming part, but I wouldn't say it was hard. I would say it was more like challenging because it was like the difficult. Like I always knew I could do it because I had the skills, but um, it's like a puzzle. You it takes time. You have to think about it, but I knew eventually I'd get it going. So yeah, that's That was what was hard. And I mean, honestly, everything was hard. It was like everything, marketing, finding people, the art, making artwork. It was it was all more difficult than I would have could have imagined before. But yeah, it gets better.
Mm-hmm. Good. So, what are your sort of like hopes for it? Are you hoping to like release on Steam, or Itch, or?
Yeah, I'll be releasing on Steam on the 13th of July, and I'm hoping for, if I get 100 downloads without refunds, I'll be happy. I'm not aiming for some super high ass number of players. I just really want to make the best game that I could make, honestly. And I do care a bit about money, because the money that I'm gonna make from this game, I want to at least get my money invested back. So like I had to invest some money into artwork, into the Steam, what do you call it, Steam tax and the engine tax, and other little small things that I had to pay for. So if I get that money back, I would be super happy. Which
Mm-hmm.
isn't that much; it's like a few $100s.
So, what's the best way to like support the game? Would it be like playing the demo, buying it when it's officially released? Like, what's the best way?
For the best way to support the game is definitely giving feedback, especially if you are a player of turn-based games, tactics games, RPGs, even Dungeons and Dragons. If you play D&D, this is definitely a game that I guess you're part of my audience. But the things that help me most are feedback and yeah, I guess downloading the game, wishlisting the game. The more people, the better. And honestly, you just feel free to, if there's anyone who wants to hit me up, talk to me about it. I'm always there. Like you can find me on Discord, Twitter, anytime.
Very cool. So, has this experience of making this game made you want to do another one when this one is finished? Is it too early to even think about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna make another one. Yeah, I actually have a team for my next game. So my best friend's boyfriend has a friend who also is into game development. So we met. We didn't meet in real life, but we met online and we talked a lot, and we became decent, quite good friends. So now the next game we're gonna make together, he's also a programmer, and he found someone who's an artist, and he convinced him to get us all working on a project. And he knows also someone who can do music and sound effects. So we're a team of four that are gonna start on a new project after I'm done with this one. And I have so many things that I want to do. Like I have lots of projects that I want to make. I'm excited all for all of them.
Will they all be in the same like tile format, or are you going to go like the more traditional like JRPG sort of route, or what you thinking?
No, I don't think I'm gonna make another turn-based game anytime soon. Unless, of course, I don't know, maybe Tilefinder becomes a huge success, like a huge streamer plays it, and people are asking for more or something. No, we're not sure what we're gonna do on our next game, but we have a lot of ideas, and we'll talk about it to find one that's all of us like, and we'll make that one. As for me, if I ever make another game personally, I'm still probably not gonna make another game like Tilefinder for a while. I have like an idea about hacking simulator game and survival, and I have a lot of ideas, but I prefer not to jinx them now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think for devs, it's more about the journey than sometimes like the final game,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the journey
because
is a lot more important.
like you were saying, like sometimes like it is like a money thing to like get a game made.
Hmm.
So like sometimes it's like the promise of what could be more so than whatever the final result was.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because like
Yeah,
you might have like a really great game and you just don't have the money to actually make it.
yeah. That's it's certainly possible. That's as with any business, you have to invest money to get money back. I mean, it depends. Unless you're an exceptionally good artist and an exceptionally good programmer at the same time, you can make something like Stardew Valley. Uh, that was a one-hit wonder, like one made by one person. So I guess
Mhm.
it is possible, but it's really hard. It's harder than I could ever imagine.
Yeah, you're really putting in a lot of work at that point. What like Is Twitter the best way for people to find you?
Yes, Twitter and Discord. If you wanna, you can. Yeah, sure. I'm active on Twitter. I post quite frequently. Also on Discord, I'm always available. As I work from home, I don't go to an office, so I have Discord always open. If you ever someone ever wants to direct DM me, feel free. My Discord is I'm pretty sure it's in the game as well. You can just click on the Discord button, join the Discord group, and I'm there.
Great. And what's your like Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is at Dave Doubly in one word, like Dave DOUBRBBL, like double E. It's literally Dave double E in.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any final pitches, comments, concerns, questions, otherwise?
Well, I gotta thank you for having me on this interview. I appreciate it a lot. And honestly, I don't have anything else to add to this. If you like the game, feel free to download the demo, or you can just wishlist. Or honestly, if you can just message me if you're from like, I don't know, Tajikistan and you can't afford the game. Just let me know. Maybe I'll give you a Steam key for free. I'm planning on making more giveaways of Steam keys just to get people going, to get it in the hands of people, to get feedback and just let people have fun. This is the core point of life. Have fun, enjoy playing the games. We only get one shot.
Definitely. And I will echo, since I have played the demo for this one, it is a lot of fun. And like deciding
Thank
which
you.
tile to go to, like, I think you're onto something here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So I'm excited to play it and get it once it's finally out. And maybe when it's finally released, we'll be able to get you back for some like a follow-up episode or something.
Sure. Feel free to contact me anytime.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And until next time, bye.
See ya.
Hey there, podcast listeners. I am David.
And I'm Kate.
And together we host a podcast that you might be interested in if you like The Legend of Zelda.
There are lots of awesome podcasts out there and a lot of awesome Zelda podcasts out there.
That's right, Kate, and we are another one of them. In fact, that is the name of our show, Another Zelda Podcast.
And in our show in particular, we talk about some of our favorite dungeons, characters, boss battles. We do a couple top 10 lists here and there.
We have some deep dive episodes, and we even pepper in a couple quiz episodes.
We talk about our own experiences. We do some review episodes, talk about our challenges, our struggles, and our victories.
That's right. If it has to do with The Legend of Zelda, we talk about it.
You can check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a lot of the other podcast services that are out there.
And you can also check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
All right, we will see you there.
Okay, bye.
Has this ever happened to you?
This video game is bullshit!
Are you tired of gaping plot holes and boring gameplay mechanics?
Look, all I'm saying is that if a full-fledged Krogan is falling off a platform, there's no way Commander Shepard has the upper arm strength to pull him up.
Has reading become just too tedious of a chore?
Ugh, books.
Are you bored of your same three murder podcasts?
Shocking. It's The Butler.
Allow me to introduce you to the brand new fan fiction podcast with an X, hosted by our lovely basement-dwelling and real-life Muppet, Dan McCoy.
Well, that's hurtful.
And myself, of course, the blonde bombshell, with the blood of Odin and the great looks of Jake Busey from Starship Troopers.
That's accurate.
And with our powers combined.
No.
Oh, you never let me do what I want to do.
I said no, man. We're not doing that.
Fine. Anyway, you can find us on Apple Podcasts wherever you get your fix from. Remember, fan fiction with an X.
Hello, today I am joined with Eric, the creator of Luminera, The Radiant Journey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. Good. That's what we like to hear. So tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Eric. I've been in the RPG Maker community since I was in high school. Back, when I was 15, I'm 34 now. So almost 20 years of messing around with RPG Maker and learning all that there is to learn about it. And I've had a lot of random little projects that I've started over the years, little things that, I was either making for fun or I wanted to do as a serious project, but I never fully followed up on. And this is my first true official wanting to be professional project that, I'll be releasing. The page is already up on Steam, and I should hopefully have the game out by late next year.
It's a turn-based RPG, obviously, with being made in RPG Maker. So this will be your first like big project that you've done. It's just been like smaller, like RPG Maker projects on the side.
Right.
So you must be super familiar with all the bells and whistles of that then.
Absolutely. Since RPG Maker 2000. Since
Cool.
the illegal pirated version of 2000 that you could buy before.
Luminera, the Radiant Journey, like what is sort of like the elevator pitch? What is this game about?
So Luminera, the Radiant Journey is a turn-based semi-open world RPG inspired by Dungeons and Dragons and Avatar: The Last Airbender. You, one of 24 playable characters, will create your party based on your likes or how you would like to balance a team. Or if you're kind of newer to RPGs, you could select a more concentrated playthrough with characters that have been pre-picked for you and pre-balanced. And regardless of your choice, the aim of the game is to make every playthrough unique to the player. So the choices that you make, along with the characters that you choose, will make this game feel fundamentally different to each game that plays it.
And there's 24 characters, you said?
Yes.
Okay, so there's like almost like infinite replayability to this. Very cool. So is it like how long would like a playthrough be?
I'm aiming for 10 to 12 hours, just a regular playthrough of the game, with maybe 20 hours if you're going for, if you just want to go for like a full completion kind of thing. And New Game Plus will be a fairly important feature where, making a new playthrough won't just be, it could be starting from fresh if you want it to be, or you can carry over weapons and items that you did in your first playthrough with different characters if that's what you want, just so players don't feel like they're completely throwing away everything that they worked for in one playthrough when they start another one.
And more characters is always better. And from the look of a lot of the character designs, it looks like there's a lot of characters I'd want to try out.
That's good to hear.
Like looking at the Steam page, there's like a guy with like a flaming sword, like a ninja looking dude. Some really great designs. Do you design the characters as well, or do you like work with like an artist?
I design the characters. I make the general design. The sprites that are on Steam are made by a professional artist because I wanted to have a more clean look to them. But the general design was made by me, yes.
Very cool. I noticed that it doesn't have that normal like fat-headed like chibi art that RPG Maker tends to have.
No, I wanted to avoid. I'm not using any of the runtime package at all.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I am using is the backgrounds for battle. I'm using them for the cards that I'm designing for the characters. But as far as any of the maps, any of the songs, you won't hear the same sound effects that you've heard in like millions of other RPG Maker games. This is completely unique, for the most part,
Mm-hmm. I think that's really cool that you use it as the bones, but you do everything naturally without using some of the pre-made stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff you'll have seen maybe elsewhere, but for the most part, I want this to feel like a unique game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to feel like, oh look, it's this game built with, these sprites that I've seen before. I want it to feel, I want everything to feel unique.
And I think that it it does feel pretty unique when like looking at like the images. Just I've we've talked to a couple other people that use RPG Maker,
Uh-huh.
and yours looks pretty unique. Just knowing what like the sort of the template items are in RPG Maker of like what those things look like. Like if you look at your map, you don't see any similar elements or anything.
No, and they wouldn't work anyway because these tile chips are 16 by 16, so
Oh,
they would
okay.
clash with the 48 by 48 that RPG Maker comes with.
So since you, it must really help that you know the engine so well to what's the thing where like when you know the guitar really well, that's when you can start to improvise.
Yeah, something like that.
So, I think I butchered whatever that expression is, but
I've never heard it, so you're probably right.
so we'll roll with it and pretend like it was right.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I usually do going forward in life.
Good life lesson there.
Yeah.
So point and click exploration is something I'm seeing on the Steam page. That's not something I normally think about with like RPG Maker. How does that kind of fit in?
I recently added the option to have the character walk around and explore as you would a regular RPG or any RPG. But what I want the game to feel like as you're playing it is that you're mostly clicking around and exploring the map, using the dice rolls to investigate certain things. Sorry if I described that incorrectly.
No. I'm curious. So what do you mean by dice roll?
So similar, like as I said, like the game is inspired by Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
I want there to be like there's an event coming up, a bridge is collapsing under you. You roll roll the dice, and if it comes out great, you get yourself to safety, and if it doesn't, you end up somewhere else, or you don't know how a Dungeons and Dragons playthrough will go by because
Gotcha.
everything is constantly fluid and changing. I want that similar feeling. When I started making Luminera, my aim was to make a Dungeons and Dragons kind of experience for a single player, for one person playing a game alone.
So it has a lot of the choose your own adventure sort of elements to it.
Very much so, yes.
So does that equal like lots of side quests and things?
There'll be side quests for sure, but it's not the main goal of the game, I guess.
Yeah. So it's not Skyrim.
Can anything be Skyrim?
I'm not sure. A lot of things have tried.
Yeah, tried and failed.
Yeah.
There'll definitely be side quests because I want players to, if they want more to do in their playthrough, I definitely want them to have that option. But it won't be as prevalent as, I guess, the main story, because the main story will feel meaty enough as it is.
To hold your interest through without needing sort of like a long side quest diversion sort of idea. So who are some of like the main, I know you were saying it's a pretty big like rotational cast, but is there sort of like a core group of characters that you play as?
You're always going to have a different team regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So there really isn't one main cast. I think the main cast for me that's kind of just been because they've been the ones that mostly been using to playtest the game are the four that are on the Steam page, which is the Aster, the guy with the flame sword, Genevieve, the wind user, Elias, the ice archer, and Kira, the shadow assassin. A lot of the key art is probably just going to show them more than anything, just because I think they're the ones that fairly represent how the game would be, I guess.
Gotcha.
But there is no main team, I guess.
No, that's cool. Like, so does your team like vary the story quite a bit then?
Yes.
A lot of decisions then. And
That's
then
what I'm going for.
cool. So I imagine having again sort of spoken to some RPG player maker people and messed around with it a little myself, that requires a lot of kind of setup to kind of make that happen, right?
A lot of it is just going to be. Have you ever played Octopath Traveler?
Yes.
So you know that Octopath Traveler it doesn't really have one main story. It has 8 concurrent stories, and it really just depends on which characters you're going into their character story chapter 4.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be very similar to that, but I want there to be more interconnected dialogue between the characters, which is what I felt that Octopath was missing.
Yeah, that was actually I had started Octopath Traveler like super interested because I obviously love turn-based stuff.
Uh-huh.
And about halfway through one of the first routes, I couldn't help myself, so I was looking up spoilers, and I found that the connective tissue that exists is kind of
Non-existent.
exactly. So it made me stop because I thought, well, like I'm just playing these 8 unique people that are kind of involved with each other, but just sort of as like
They're
a plot sort of thing.
Right. They're traveling with each other, but they don't have any attachment to each other. Like,
Yeah. And
and that's what I felt was missing. That's kind of what Luminera is, with more characters, unfortunately.
yeah, because I remember I had started off as the merchant girl.
Trust them.
Yep. And I had found the old warrior guy. I can't
Ulrich.
yes.
Yeah.
And it was just like, sup, I guess I'll hang out with you now. Like
Yeah. That doesn't fly with me.
it bummed me out as like someone who likes characters. Characters and story are why I play. Like gameplay is usually like the secondary thing. Oh, I stopped and I still
'Cause you
haven't
want
gone
characters
back.
to have some camaraderie to them.
Exactly. It just kind of felt like almost like catching like another like Pokemon or something where it's like, okay, now I'm traveling with you, I guess.
What a lot of people, I mean, like we've accepted, us being lovers of turn-based RPGs, that there's a certain unrealistic expectation. Like, you look at Final Fantasy VII, these characters would never be together. Like Kate Sip is just following them around for no reason. Like, why is he there? But there's connectivity between them. They talk to each other. There's an importance to all of them, and you can say that about a lot of RPGs. That's what I want. Like, I want this to feel unique. You're going to pursue the stories of a lot of these characters, the 4 that you'll choose, and 4 that you'll get access to later on in Luminera. But I'm writing a lot of dialogue for them, which is, I think it's my bread and butter. Just being able to write thousands of lines of dialogue. That's the one thing that I feel that I'm really good at. I'm doing that, so it feels like every playthrough will feel unique, crazy, and you won't feel like you're just alone in this world. You'll be there with with these characters that you chose. You won't regret it. I don't know how to get that across.
No, I think that makes total sense. And it sounds like you've really like put in the work to actually have it be cohesive where character A can talk to character B and they'll have lines of dialogue and not just sort of like kind of generic, I
Yeah.
guess we should continue the mission kind of stuff.
Yeah, and more than that. Like, and I'm trying to avoid tropism, like with the Fire Emblem games. That I love, that they have their issues.
Hmm.
That every character is 1 or 2 tropes, and then that's all that their dialogue allows. So I'm
Yep.
trying to avoid that as well.
Hmm.
And it's a real challenge, but we're
Yeah, I think games like Golden Sun do a good job of like having their characters actually exist together versus just being like faceless attack units.
Golden Sun is a great example.
This is definitely getting me interested. So you have like 8 elemental like conduits. So is that like fire, air, water kind of idea?
Fire, water, earth, wind, shadow, light, thunder, ice. And the game started out with 8 characters, 1 of each element. But I thought, what if you wanted to go ice, but you didn't want to use a physical damage dealer, you wanted to go with like a mage or something. And so I added 8 more characters. And then I thought, you know what? Let's go with 3 for each one. So 24 characters, 3 of each element.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's basically a damage dealer, a mage or healer, and the third class would be something that's kind of just off the cuff, like Tressa the Merchant, kind of Viola the Merchant as well,
Okay.
or Melody the Botanist, who her skills involve. She's a water user, Aqualisan, as I call it in the game. I don't want to say waterbender because I don't want people to assume like, oh, he's just ripping off Avatar.
No, I think that's part, and I think that like saying it's like Avatar will get a lot of people sold.
I hope so because Avatar was fantastic.
I know Avatar's lovely. It's a fantastic series, and a lot of like JRPGs would improve from following its example.
I think so too. Because Avatar is very simple in that it's it's just the four elements and everything, and they do a lot to give you like the building blocks of like what it means to be a fire user, what it means to be like having these powers obviously changes the world in which you live. Like the Earth Kingdom that they open their doors by like using their earth bending and like sliding rocks away to open up like that. There's a similar vibe to that in Luminera.
Mm-hmm.
That the Earth Kingdom is very heavily dependent on their Earth users.
Cool. So, do characters like affect the like the map at all? Where like maybe like
That kind of thing.
yeah.
I wanted to. I decided against it because I thought it was going to be way too much.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So each character does have a passive, and they do fundamentally change some things about your playthrough. Like say Aster with his firepower has the capacity to create a weather barrier, so certain weather damage doesn't actually afflict you, and you can progress through a dungeon faster with him. Whereas if you didn't have him, you'd have to get something to. A little bit going forward, there's a volcano level. If you don't have Aster, you'll need to find like a fire shield to protect you from the damage of the volcano. Or if you just want to go balls deep, you can just go into the volcano and you'll constantly take damage over time, but you can complete it if you want to. But if it really just depends how you play the game.
Very cool. So you had mentioned a couple, but were there any other like games that kind of inspired this idea?
I think the biggest game that inspired this, weirdly enough, is Divinity Original Sin 2.
Okay.
Because it felt like you had a big open world that, there's a set story, but at the same time, you kind of were free to do a lot of whatever you wanted. The skills that you had and the characters you had kind of changed the way you could play the game. But that's essentially what inspired a lot of this game. Octopath Traveler, in the way that, the story is really based around the characters more so than the overarching story. Divinity Original Sin and the way that the game is played and the openness to it, and Dungeons and Dragons in the fluidity of what could happen at any moment. There was gonna be permadeath for a while in the game. That I had originally planned for it. That I eventually changed my mind when I realized just how horrible it was gonna be for you to lose your character 8 hours into a playthrough.
As someone who has played Fire Emblem on the permadeath thing, I say thank you.
I would get impatient. I didn't want to reset, and I thought, you know what? I lost one character. It's fine. I'm moving on with my life. Maybe they didn't deserve to live. They were too weak for this war-torn world.
They were a spy. But I've since had a change of heart, and now I generally bring them back to life.
Or I mean, with the more recent Fire Emblems, you just turn on casual mode.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of casual mode.
Yeah, I am too. Because I'm older and I have less time to play games. I don't have time to replay a 40-minute Fire Emblem campaign.
Yeah, same. And then it feels like in Fire Emblem in particular, once you get to like the arrow launcher battles, it takes out like half your team before you even reach like the main fighting. So like sometimes you have to leave some folks behind. So what sort of made you want to finally like release like a bigger game?
Biggest reason why is that it's always been my dream to finish up a game and have people be able to play it, be able to. I love writing stories, and to have somebody play through a story of mine and tell me about it is fantastic. I haven't had too many. I think I took the demo off of itch. I'm not 100% sure, but the few people that did play it, their feedback to me was important, and it felt amazing to hear people like a game that I'm. And my wife has been incredibly supportive of me and kind of pushed me to finally to just do it. She's just like, no, you have the time, you have the capacity, don't have any kids yet. Go out there and do it. And I thought, you know what? Let's try. Let's start. And slowly but surely, I went from, I think I had like 100 followers, and most of them were just my regular Twitter followers. Now I'm at 1,100. It's not that many, but it's, it's building up. There's people that are interested in the game. There's people that ask me about it, and it's just been amazing.
It already looks pretty cool to me. And I think that like the core of like what this sounds like, it's for the people that weren't a big fan of Octopath because of that like lack of interconnected story. Because Octopath is beautiful looking.
That very niche audience.
Yeah.
Played Octopath but didn't like it that much.
But I think that you'll also get the Octopath fans because it does sort of feel that same way. And there's like, it seems that JRPGs in general are going through like a renaissance all of a sudden.
I feel that they're here to stay. If it's not by AAAs, it's by us, the indies.
Yeah. And I think that people just from what little we've been talking to indie creators and stuff, it feels that people go to the AAAs for kind of wacky, new, weird game stuff, but they go to the indies for unique, personalized stories. So I think it ends up kind of interesting that way.
Yeah, I think so too. I love me some turn-based RPGs. I always have. Super Mario RPG is and forever will be my favorite game.
I've been playing through that actually.
Oh, first time.
Yep, first time. It's got like a great, like weird, like sense of humor to it.
Precursor to the Paper Mario games.
Mm-hmm. Which I also haven't played. I don't know.
You'll enjoy them if and when you get to them.
I think I will. I'm definitely enjoying Super Mario RPG.
What RPGs do you generally?
A lot of Shining Force, a lot of Fire Emblem. What else? Golden Sun is a really big standout. I really like Earthbound. Oh,
I actually finally I beat that game a year ago.
Oh yeah?
I'm in the same boat as you with playing some of these older games finally for the first time.
Growing up, I feel like I was always playing like weird, like what I'm now realizing is like weird video games. Like I feel, I'm 30, so I grew up playing GameCube a lot. And I feel like modern gamers would like vomit if they like saw the GameCube games that I was playing. So I was playing like Pac-Man World 2. They made this like weird like
Pac-Man World.
oh, it's a great game, but it's not one of those like Smash Bros. Like
no, but I mean, everyone has their nostalgia games.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend whose favorite game to this day is SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, just because he has that nostalgia for it. Like obviously he's played other games since. He loves the Skyrim. He loves The Witcher. But you look back to these games. Like one of my favorite games is Quest 64. That game is awful. But I played it as an 8-year-old kid, that just wanted more RPGs to play in a time that I didn't have a PlayStation 1 yet. And my only options for an RPG on the N64 were that or Paper Mario.
That's true.
Yeah, I didn't even know about Final Fantasy until like later on, which just, opened up my mind to the possibilities.
You must be a big fan of Final Fantasy VI then.
Yeah. It's not my favorite one, but I do love 6.
It seems a lot of people we talk to, 6 is the
I know it's their inspiration.
Yeah, it's weird. And then during like the first batch of interviews that we did, like almost every episode, it was a different Final Fantasy. It was 8, and then it was 2, and then it was 3, then it was 6. It was just like every episode, someone was inspired by a different Final Fantasy. So
don't get me wrong, I love Final Fantasy, and I will, to the end of time. I will play their now action-oriented Devil May Cry-ish games because Final Fantasy is fantastic. But there's just something about some of these lesser-known RPGs on PS1, like the Suikoden games, the Valkyrie Profile.
It's funny that they're releasing so many like JRPGs now. They could re-release a bunch of the like PlayStation 1, like Super Nintendo era ones, and people would like love them just as much because it seems like they age pretty well.
Oh yeah, I'm playing for the first time Lufia 2 right now.
Okay, I haven't played that one, but I'd like to try it.
I have started and stopped that game so many times over the past 15 years. Wanting to get into it and just something gets in the way, but I'm fine with playing through it. And I've just been doing that just over the over the years. And right now in the pandemic as well, I have more time to I opt for a lot of these old RPGs I never got to try out.
So, what's the best way for people to support you?
Honestly, following me on Twitter at Luminera Game, wish listing Luminera on Steam is also very helpful, and just be on the lookout. I should hopefully have the Steam demo done by next month. I had a demo out, and it was so bug ridden that I was so embarrassed by it that I actually I took it down. Like it just I had a couple people just say that they completely got frozen in their tracks. Just some things that I just I forgot to catch that I forgot to catch, and so this will be a much better demo. It's gonna have It's gonna have 12 playable characters,
Hmm.
so 12 of the 24,
Wow.
and then early access should hopefully be out by October.
Well, that's all really exciting. I try to not keep people too long, so I will thank you and let you go.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to continue the conversation with us, you can find us on Twitter at the Turn by Turn Pod. We can also be found on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are sold. A 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would mean the world. We will talk to you soon. Bye.